also not comfortable with people getting away with saying any old thing. To your point, we were talking during the break about this culture that Trump didn't usher in, but absolutely fomented and codified and made it to the highest office with this notion that A, he's an outsider, and B, he's somebody that just shoots from the hip, and he's, a man's man who says whatever that people are thinking, and people embrace that. But there should be consequences. You shouldn't be able to say whatever you want. So last week when we were talking about the Jeffrey Epstein list of pedophiles or people that went to Pedophile Island, people whose names made their way onto a list, Aaron Rodgers, who is the quarterback for the New York Jets, flippantly said something to the effect that Jimmy Kimmel is really nervous about this list coming out. Now, I don't know Jimmy Kimmel to have anything to do with it. But so Jimmy Kimmel has a whole ass platform. Here's what you should never do. You should never, ever come for somebody that is a trained comedian, first of all, because as I said before, really good comedians are some of the smartest people on earth, period.
Oh, that's absolutely.
But someone that has a team of writers and a nightly show, I'm going to say I exercise a lot of restraint. Being on this radio 5 days a week, I am prepared for just about anything, except sometimes, some things that I'm not. But I'm saying it makes you warm in a way that just talking out the left side of you, because we got to research, we got to read stuff, we got to make sure we're right, we fact check in real time. Like there's a lot of moving parts when you want to get it right. We're not Aaron Rodgers just sitting here chit-chatting. This is not, this ain't Cam and Mace. We're not just throwing out topics or the Breakfast Club. That's a stray. But I have to say that I'm an actual trained journalist. I bring on people that have skills and backgrounds and things for the most part. I hope are prepared to talk about just about anything. I don't give them planned questions, but I'm working on their scholarship, that they're going to bring something to the table. So Jimmy Kimmel has a show, a late night show, and he addressed Aaron Rodgers last night. It's a longish clip, Smith. So play it, and I'll pause you as we go through it. But I think it's a masterclass in what you should never allow people to do and say. Go ahead.
First show of 2024, which is already a crazy year, particularly for me. Did you hear this story about me and Aaron Rodgers, the former quarterback for the Packers? All right. So what happened is he's a Jets quarterback now. He went on a show on ESPN, the Pat McAfee show, and out of the blue insinuated that I was nervous because the Jeffrey Epstein list was coming out. He said I was hoping it wouldn't and that he was going to pop a bottle of something to celebrate when he did. And then it did come out. And, of course, my name wasn't on it and isn't on it and won't ever be on. I don't know Jeffrey Epstein. I've never met Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not on a list. I was not on a plane or an island or anything ever. And I suggested that if Aaron wanted to make false and very damaging statements like that we should do it in court so he could share his proof with like a judge. Because, when you hear a guy who won a Super Bowl and did all the State Farm commercials say something like this, a lot of people believe it. A lot of delusional people honestly believe I am meeting up with Tom Hanks and Oprah at Shakey's once a week to eat pizza and drink the blood of children.
So he goes into the Dunning-Krueger effect. And I want to, we'll put out the rest of this clip. But to this point, we are in a world where there are so many experts. This is why I am fierce about this. Don Callaway, not just that you've been in Washington, you're a lobbyist, you've done things people wouldn't even know, but I know. So I know what you're breathing, even though we rib with each other and joke around. I know the depth of what it is, and I know you read. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's important that we surround ourselves with people who challenge us, but challenge us intellectually so that we can know more. We shouldn't be comfortable with someone who did research on YouTube or who did their research on Wikipedia or, it's okay to go down rabbit holes, but that should go with, some books that have footnotes. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, nothing beats that kind of scholarship or be in community with people like a Dr. Carr, for example. I'm not reading the 50,000 books that man has in storage. I'm not going to read them, but I trust that he's going to break them down for me enough to grab the pieces of things that I need to fill in the blanks that I may have, and then maybe take me off onto another tangent in my own, for my own edification. But yeah, like this is untenable, the world that we're in right now, because we don't know enough, we don't read enough, and there's a lot of noise out there, and people trust Aaron Rodgers to get information because he didn't take the vaccine, then I'm not taking it. Really? That's
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, when we talk about politics, public affairs, public health, really public information, we are in a post-truth era. That is a direct result of elevating a demonstrably untruthful president, which is a direct result of elevating an element of one of the two parties in this country that was very clearly animated by one thing and one thing only, and that was the ongoing maintenance of white supremacist patriarchy in this country. I have very little sympathy for, the people who say I'm a reasonable Republican. Yeah, because unfortunately, I'm old enough to have been in the game when we watched you accept the crazies into your ranks in 2009 as a direct result of the election of a black man to the presidency of the United States. And you accepted them. Some of you didn't even hold your nose. Now, I was going to say you held your nose and accepted them, but some of y'all welcomed them on in just because they were willing to vote for R. But when you let that poison into your party, did you think they would not eventually become committee chairs? Did you think they would not eventually raise money? Did you think they would not eventually gather a caucus strong enough to oust the reasonable leadership that it overcame you? At some point, this is you. So if you continue to identify with that side of the ledger, and again, I didn't come on here the first show of the year to be Mr. Rabid Partisan Democrat, but I do think it's important that we establish a theme. It is a two-party system in this country. I love Brother Wes Bellamy and our Black Party and everything they're doing. I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to them recently. This is not the year to deviate from a Democratic Party vote in the general election. And let's be clear, our nominee is Joe Biden. I didn't come to wave the Joe Biden flag. He's not paying me. I'm not on his staff. But I understand what the frustrations are, but this is a battle between Joe Biden and democracy, or Joe Biden and a Hitler-esque philosophy. And I'm sorry I'm going on these rants, but that's just kind of where I am. There is a much larger systemic issue at play here, and we are going to be called upon one more again in November, so be prepared to save this thing, and then we can continue back to our work of fine-tuning the nuances and continuing to perfect our democracy. But this ain't the year for y'all to entertain Jill Stein or Ralph Nader or whoever, or no labels, the moderate white guys who are calling themselves the reasonable folks, the Jay Nixons. I know Jay Nixon. He was my moderate white Democratic Republican governor when I was in the state legislature. It ain't the year to find decent white dudes in a no labels party and elevate them. Just as the same time, it ain't the year to elevate the Jill Stein or even our brother whom we love, Dr. Cornel West, right? There's a real existential choice on the table, and Joe Biden leaves a lot to be desired, but he and Kamala are our nominees if you want to not be in that state.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you, and I can't. That's what reasonable, rational, and again, our feelings are our feelings. We can all be in them, or wait and see. It's weird to me that people cannot see the possibilities when the possibilities have happened time and time again throughout history, as if history didn't happen because people ignored it, right? It happened because people saw it happening and they did nothing about it. And then it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. And then we get anesthetized or we fall asleep for 20, 30, 40 years. And then we're right back here again going, I can't believe this is happening. How did this happen? So yeah, this has to be the time. I actually don't have a lot of hope that we will show up in November. I don't. So I'm preparing for that world. Preparing for that world.
That goes back to where we're getting our information from. And most of us are getting it from this thing right here and these reels that give you 20 seconds of information about why Joe Biden's bad. And if you watch the whole thing, it knows that that's what you're into, and you're going to get more on it. And you're going to get Kamala Harris saying this and that and what they ain't done. And, all of this now, the bots have won. The bots have won. And so as much as I want to keep it jocular on this, our first episode of the year, we got a lot of word to get out. We got a lot of messaging to do. We have a lot of people to grab by their collar. Now, I tend to believe in human nature. I tend to believe in the best of us, that we will come around. But this will consume our year if you are in the space of politics, like our sister, the realtor from Atlanta, who just called in.
Yeah. Let's play Jasmine Crockett. I've been holding on to her. I think she's a person, a rock star. I need her to come on the Karen Hunter show. I see you on the Breakfast Club. Not that that's, that's good. They have a large audience. And I think she speaks to that audience in a way that is powerful. I think her voice resonates. Jasmine Crockett, the great Democrat representative from the state of Texas, the 30th district there. She's the best thing the Biden administration has, in my opinion, right now, in terms of messaging. Play the clips, Ms.
I have direct access to the president, obviously, and I almost wish everyone could have a real sit down with the president, like a one-on-one, and a real sit down with the vice president. I'm going to be real, because it's just one of those things that most people don't have access to. And I'm going to be honest with you about this. Trump was amazing at propaganda. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we got the stimulus checks, they were delayed because he said, I want to put my signature on it. Mm-hmm. Now, Trump wasn't the one that said, hey, this is what we need to do for the people. It was the Democratic House, the Democratic Senate that passed the legislation. He didn't even initiate it. He just signed it into law, right? But he was like, this is a good opportunity. The problem is that it's exactly what you just said. Like, we need a president that's going to go around and brag on himself. He needs to be bragging about the fact he and his VP who graduated from an HBCU needs to be bragging about the fact that they actually have given more money to HBCUs than Trump ever did. But you know what Trump did? He sat back, he took a picture with all the HBCU presidents. Right. So everybody's like, oh, Trump gave, nope. Let's be real about this. This actually was the result of a bill that was signed into law by a Republican, by a Bush. And ultimately, this was a reauthorization. In the reauthorization, he actually wanted to zero out the HBCUs. But a Black woman out of North Carolina, my colleague, Alma, she said, oh, this is not what we gonna do. And so she fought for it. She was able to get the money back in. So once he signed it back into law, he was like, well, let's take a picture. Like, we have to do some of the gimmicky things, the things that will allow people to see and visualize. But let me tell you something.
Oh, y'all do gimmicky things. It's just whack shit. Like when they kneeling down in kente cloth, in Congress. Like, that's, nobody asked for that.
I wasn't part of that, so don't look me in. Don't look me in with that. You know what I'm saying?
Put Jasmine Crockett in charge of y'all's messaging, please. If you want folk to show up, this has got to happen. Don Callaway is here. Don Callaway, DC STL for St. Louis. He's also a Noop. Those of you who know, you know. Thoughts and prayers. Messaging is important, right? At this time, those bite-sized, staccato, constant. I mean, I feel like we're not getting that.
Jasmine Crockett, it should be noted, is from the Congressman, the Honorable Jasmine Crockett. Yes. Is from the soul of St. Louis, Missouri. She represents a Texas district that was so capably held by Eddie Bernice Johnson for the bulk of the last 30 years. Rest in peace to Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, who just passed. And she's in, that's where Jasmine is, in the Dallas area. But to be clear, she is from St. Louis. I will never miss an opportunity to elevate ours, because I know what that town does to Jasmine Crockett, right? There's Jasmine Crockett, there's Sexy Red. I will allow no Sexy Red slander, because I know what that town does to Black girls who come from the neighborhoods where those girls come from. And they are remarkably successful in opposing lights. But we have to celebrate all of ours in the same way that we celebrate some of ours. More importantly, in the same way that we should celebrate as intensely as they incarcerate us. So I'm extraordinarily proud of Jasmine Crawford. And I would hope that the party would find the wisdom in themselves to elevate not only her, but voices like her, a younger voice, a browner voice, a more millennial voice, and a voice that frankly did not spend the 30 years coming up through the city council and the state legislature and wait her turn to be in line to take some position that an older authoritarian patriarch said you could have. And so I love everything that she's doing, and she's spot on. A few years ago, we saw some of the younger members on both sides of the aisle make some waves because they were so good at getting attention and gathering media, but they weren't always as factually prepared. It seems that Jasmine Crawford is the first person to have merged the ability to find the people, touch the people where they are, speak in their native tongue, with the substantive knowledge. And I'm very excited for everything coming from Sister Crawford. She's a few years younger.
Crockett.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's a few years younger than me, so I really didn't even know her in DC as a professional doing that, or in St. Louis. And that's how fast the yard moves on when you think you're the man and you think you know somebody, or you know all the people. You don't, right? Because it's people coming from under you, and it's people, it's fish not of your fold, but sheep not of your fold. But I am so proud of her, and I think that folks will be wise to not only listen to her, but to use the institutional infrastructure of government to elevate her and people like her.
Amen. Jasmine Crockett, come on through. 866-801-8255. Ali Yasin Free, this is a safe space to have that talk. And I don't think I'm going to get talking points. I think we're going to have honest dialogue, and we need that because a lot of y'all listening are on the fence. You are contemplating. There's no way you could vote for this administration with the ceasefire still, with the people being bombed to smithereens out of humanity in the Gaza Strip under this administration. Is really, really hard for you to think about voting, but not voting. You're the folk who don't want you to have rights. The folks that want this to be the Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood come to life, the folks that would love to see you jumping off of a curb and averting your eyes and, washing their drawers and having to saying yes, those folk, yeah, they're voting. They're voting in great numbers, and they don't care. And as Don said, they're not even holding their nose because this is what they want. And they've already shown you. So if you're, this can't happen. Okay, watch. Roe v. Wade was not supposed to be overturned. All of those Supreme Court justices lied and said, this is rule of law. We are not going to touch Roe v. Wade. As soon as they got an opportunity, guess what they did? Overturned it. So let's go.
Yeah, there's no bottom, because the goal of domination doesn't have parameters on it. Domination is thorough. They want everything. There's nothing. They're not going to let you. They might give you enough to survive. They don't want to kill the slave, right? But the goal is to strip you of everything. There's no piece of territory. There's no asset. There's no thing. There's no opportunity I don't want, right? Anything of value I wanted to distribute among my small tribe. And that is white supremacy is a form of social domination. There are no lengths at which there's no place at which it stops. You understand?
Facts.
And I think that folks have to understand that that's what's at stake on the ballot in 24.
You are catting good today. You're catting, tatting. Don coined the phrase. He made cat, K-A-T-T, a verb. I'm here for it. We are coming into 2024 with new words. I'm here for it. That should make it into the dictionary.
Can't turn my back on that. Gotta make moves, gotta act on that. You're the one I want and I stand on that. You and me, babe, that's black on black.